Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
February 2020, that was the last in-person My Little Underground show I did. That seems like a million years
months.
ago.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's insane. I can't imagine. See, now things are getting better, but for a long time I just couldn't imagine doing anything in person.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, I'll just be remote forever.
Yep, forget it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't ever have to leave
need-
my house ever again.
Yeah. So, but yeah. No, that's cool. Okay. I hope. I mean, I haven't been on a podcast in God knows a long time, so hope I know how to speak and actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Be on the mic again. This is the first time on a podcast or radio since 2019.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. It's so weird. Absolutely. This is My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Connor is back. Welcome back, Connor.
Thank you. Welcome. I am so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time you were on in person, we did the midterms for 2019. I think that was the last time we did it in the flesh.
Word
talk.
Where did we do that?
That was at Shelter Island Studio. Yeah. You couldn't do... We were going to do a best of 6 months later, but you were going through some horrible things during that time. So, I went in alone that year, but which was fine. But and we did midterms last year remote, which was also cool. But it's cool to have you in the flesh.
It's great to it's great to be here in the flesh. I forgot that I existed and could go places. So and I was thinking a lot about the past 2 episodes that we've done, like last June and then in December, and that feels like decades ago.
Yeah, it does.
To me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited though.
Yep. And we got our red pens out today to grade some of our favorite full-length albums because in case you were paying attention, if you weren't, part 1 of my midterms was singles and EPs. So you can go listen to that anywhere you get podcasts and of course on peteraradio.com. So Connor, let's not waste any time. What's your first album? Let's go.
The first album that I wanted to talk about has been getting a lot of airplay. Arlo Parks, Collapse into Sunbeams.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing her on the radio so often, and it just kind of, all of her songs are becoming earworms for me. I love the arrangements. Her voice is so sweet, and the songs do get pretty intense and crushing, and they're very emotionally heavy songs, but I just think the musicality of it is just gorgeous, and I think the production is just as nice, and I am looking forward to listening to it for the next 6 months to a year, really letting it sit with me, and I think it's definitely going to make my top of 2021 for sure. But I got to thank WFUV for really playing that so much, and I'm just hearing it so often, and when shows come back, I mean, I know shows are back now, but I definitely want to go see Arlo Parks for sure. So that's definitely the first one I want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm still on some record pools that I was in for college radio, and I saw Arlo Parks in there, and I checked her out, and I thought it was really cool. I heard her latest album, the one you're talking about, once when it came out, and I didn't listen to it again. Not that I didn't like it, but I just there were so many other things I was listening to that I was more infatuated with. But Arlo Parks is pretty cool. I would highly recommend that album too. So for me, local New York group, also catching a lot of fire. Not as much as Arlo Parks, but still, a good amount of attention. That's Palberta. Their new album, Palberta 5000, came out in February. Seems like forever ago. And this time around, because when their last album was in 2018, and it was so weird and strange, and something. It was like a car crash. Like you just couldn't stop listening to it. But I didn't totally get into it. But this time around, they still kept their strange, freakish punk sound, but a lot more melody. Tons more melody this time around. The songs are unbelievably catchy, especially their opener, which is probably one of my favorite opening album tracks of the year so far, and that's No Way. It's unbelievably infectious. It's uncanny. What else? Oh yeah, just like the Arlo Parks thing. The vocal arrangements are fantastic. And there is there's not a lot of brass, but there's brass, and I'm a sucker for a good brass section, and I highly recommend Palberta 5000. I have it on vinyl right here in my apartment, and it's extraordinary. And they're former My Little Underground guests, and they are great people. They're extraordinarily entertaining. It was one of those interviews where you wish that all interviews were like, because I towards the end of the interview, I had some notes, and I just kind of dished it, and we just kind of just talked, and we were just kind of cracking jokes, and they're just a good time, and they're just lovely human beings. I'm so glad they're getting a lot of attention for this project, so I highly recommend going back to listen to that episode I did with Palberta, and listening to Palberta 5000. All right. Conor, what's next?
I have to second that in that brass sections really are getting me lately. I mean, I'll talk about this later, but the new Japanese Breakfast album has incredibly gorgeous brass arrangements and orchestral pieces, and it just makes everything breathe so much more. I don't know. I just love any brass arrangements from here on out. I think that's a trend that we can keep going with. Something I wanted to talk about is the weather station's Ignorance. I didn't know the weather station prior to this year. I heard Atlantic on my Spotify Discover Weekly, and I was like, okay, let me check this out. And it was catchy, and I said, let me check out the rest of the album. And I loved it. They really had this nice, folk rock kind of, it was a bit artsy, a bit like art, not art punk, but like art folk in a way, if I can describe it like that.
Yeah,
Definitely something that I went back to during the month of like February, January. Felt like a winter record for me, and their music videos are just equally as stunning. So one of them is I think it's for Atlantic, where the singer is wearing like a suit made out of mirrors, and it's just very reflective and very jarring to see, and definitely something that I recommend checking out. It definitely left an impact on me, and I wasn't even looking for it, so it was one of those gems that I found this year. So
yeah, another FUV friendly artist. And I remember a few years ago when I was listening to a lot of Margaret Glaspie, I was in a mood for more like singer-songwritery type of songs, and Weather Station was one of them. Yeah, they're pretty cool if you like those little tender, almost folk-like tunes. That's not too abrasive. If you want to decompress after a day, like that's the artist to listen to. Next on my list, similar vein to Weather Station, but a lot more vibrant, I would say. Jane Weaver, Flock. British pop songstress, been doing this for over 20 years. And she put together on this album a collection of some of the most sweet psychedelic pop tunes. Their arrangements are so lush. Each tune has like a vibrant arrangement and a lot of instruments going on, but it's not like abrasive. Like they come in at the right times. They all serve their purpose, especially the intro guitars to Revolution of Supervisions, which a lot of people are likening to a Prince song, I guess to a degree, but I didn't think of Prince right away. I just thought of, okay, this is like a club friendly tune. Very, very heavy synths in the middle section. It's just gorgeous. When I'm listening to Jane Weaver, I'm thinking, okay, I know Connor's definitely gonna dig this. Lots of I definitely, one of the singles to this album is one of my favorite tunes of the year, and that's Heart Low. There's a lot of spacey, atmospheric things going on in the intro. A lovely horn section that kind of has a really cool interplay with the chorus, and there's like a vocal section towards the end of the song that's just fantastic. It's so good. So I highly recommend Jane Weaver, and I want to shout out Sheila B. from WFMU, host of Sophisticated Boom Boom, and I'm also relearning how to talk too, Connor, so don't feel so bad about that. She's a former guest of My Little Underground, and she played Jane Weaver on her show, and I was hooked immediately.
Yeah, that's definitely something I have to check out. There's been so much that's come out this year that I've skipped over a lot unintentionally.
Yep.
Just there's so much that I'm playing catch up with everything this year.
Yeah.
Continuing in the same sort of vein as like kind of a not as abrasive, folksy kind of rock album or band is the Fruit Bats. And the Fruit Bats are this band that had been around for so long. I didn't really know about them until last year, but their 2009 album really put a dent in me, and I loved it so much. Just the vocal melodies and the simplistic chord progressions and the lyricism was gorgeous. And they put out an album in February called The Pet Parade, and I think it was that album from like the early 2000s times 10. I just think the instrumentation is gorgeous. Songs like The Pet Parade, this title track. The Balcony is really kind of the hit on the album, and it just has this really sweet rolling melody. So kind of like a song you can drive to or walk to. Very Sunday morning, very easygoing song, but it doesn't leave you wanting more. It kind of hits that spot, and you're like, okay, I feel good now. It's like a cup of coffee, but not a strong cup of coffee, but it's a nice cup of coffee. And came out in March. I'm very wrong.
Yeah.
So Fruit Bats, The Pet Parade, definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah. Going into the hip hop world now for me, and it's Czarface and MF Doom with Super What. This is the follow up to their last collaboration. Czarface meets Metalface. I have the cassette in my collection here. And this album came as a surprise. I wasn't anticipating it because Esoteric and Inspector Deck did not say, hey, album's coming out in here. And this is one of a few albums that just came out of nowhere, like the Brockhampton album. And if you don't know Czarface, it's the combination of Inspector Deck, Esoteric. It's actually Inspector Deck and 7L and Esoteric. 7L handles a lot of the production duties. And it's just a comic book on wax, which is my usual definition for MF Doom, or descriptor is a better word. And Esoteric is a huge comic book fan and also a big wrestling fan too. He name drops AEW's Orange Cassidy on the opener, The King and I, which is probably the first musical reference I've heard of Orange Cassidy. There's probably maybe some Jersey local punk bands that probably mention him as well. And what's interesting is that WWE's MVP took a picture of himself after a show wearing his Czarface t-shirt. And with MF Doom, comic book in music form. And Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang bringing in the martial arts, aspect in music. So it's kind of like different generations of hip. Well, actually, no, because MF Doom, when he was with KMD, they were around the same time MF Doom was. So it's kind of the these two like kind of pioneers as far as like bringing in some sort of pop culture element to their music, like a comic book or a karate film. Very unique in their own. Similar, they cut from the same cloth, but like they approach things differently. And 7L's production just as sharp as ever, and verses from Inspector Deck and Esoteric are just as sharp. Same with Doom. And one thing that's very interesting about Czarface is they're very tongue-in-cheek, and there's a song on here where Esoteric robs a bunch of superheroes with just his cannon. And again, if you're a fan of MF Doom, you're a fan of Czarface, highly recommend this. This is not the greatest Czarface album ever, but it's definitely, it's a quick listen, and it's very fun, and still very good. Czarface rarely misses.
Something I definitely wanted to talk about was the math rock album the only math rock album I've listened to this year. It's Black Midi's Cavalcade. And not something, I can't say that I liked Black Midi when they first came out. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was, wow, this is very high energy, but it's a bit inaccessible. And of course I know that's their bag. But this album, Cavalcade, definitely kind of hit the right spots for me. And it was a challenge, but it was definitely rewarding once you got it. I mean, the drummer is one of the best drummers I've ever heard in my life. John L., I think it's the opening track or very close to it, is just kind of a whirlwind hurricane of, oh my god, there's horn sections, there's just the angular guitars, like sort of like James Chance. They definitely take a page out of James Chance's book from like the 80s no wave scene in New York City. And I'm very excited to see where they go with this sound. It kind of feels like, where do you go if your sound is completely like deconstructed? Like, I don't know where you go after a while with that, but they seem to really be reinventing themselves. This is only the second album, but definitely something that I think is worth a listen, if only just for the spectacle of how the hell do they do that. I have absolutely no idea, but their musicality and their skill on their instruments is definitely super impressive, and that definitely makes the list for me of the top albums so far of this year. And it's kind of a sleeper hit. Like, I didn't know it was coming. Wasn't really looking forward to it. Again, just sort of popped out of nowhere, and I latched onto it. definitely did something for me. So Black Midi Cavalcade is definitely on my list.
One thing I would say about Black Midi, and it's a challenge. Like when we went to go see Irreversible Entanglements, that was a challenge, or like a lightning bolt. But the difference between them is like their focus, and Black Midi is like all over the place.
Yep.
It's like it's very freeform jazz, like almost like a Sun Ra type of thing. It's very strange in that way. Yeah, it's not for everybody, but the musicianship is through the roof. If you're into that, if you're into really, people who play their instruments very, very well, if that's for you, then Black Midi is for you. Staying in the hip hop realm for me, Namir Blade and Lorange, Imaginary Everything. Namir Blade, rapper from Nashville, Lorange, producer from North Carolina. I would say this is one of the best produced rap albums all year, and I would say Namir Blade has a very unique, not necessarily unique, but it's he incorporates a lot of melody into his verses that is done very, very well, because one of my biggest problems with some rappers is that a lot of rappers feel like they need to sing when they can't do it, and sometimes they put on auto-tune and it doesn't come off well. The only person that really does that well is like Travis Scott, but like some of the best melodic rappers that I've heard throughout history, Lauryn Hill, Mos Def, is Namir Blade just as good a singer as both of those two? Absolutely not, but he carries a tune very, very well, and it doesn't ruin the song. It actually enlightens it, I think, which is really cool. He doesn't act like or try to be a great singer, but he does know how to hold a tune and captivate a melody. And this album is a perfect example of why I believe that rappers, hopefully some of them should find their footing production-wise, to find a producer or one or two to really have a nice cohesive sound, because some rappers, they feel like, they want to sound different, which is nice, but sometimes, when you have so many different producers on an album, it just comes off very disjointed. And to me, it ruined a lot of great rappers' albums, because there'll be one or two bangers and another one just doesn't, it's not right. But this Namir Blade album with Lorange is just superb, and the production from Lorange is just a lot of great vocal samples, of incredible use of samples on this album. I cannot recommend it enough.
I want to talk about an album and a band specifically that is very... I have mentioned them so many times. They've been on my list for many years, and they only released this album last week. It's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They released Butterfly 3000. I heard it. I said I don't want to talk about it, because I of course I would talk about it, but I like it. It's definitely... You remember with the metal album they put out, I think two years ago. Dude. Yeah.
They put out so many albums.
It's
hard to keep out. It's hard to keep up.
It's so impossible to keep up. I also think, I have a theory that we could talk about it some other time, that they are like the fish of our generation. They're disguised in reverb and garage rock, but they're kind of like the fish of the Grateful Dead, in that they have such a crazy output, very loyal fans that will follow them to the ends of the earth, and they will have longevity because of that. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. But Butterfly 3000 came out last week. No singles leading up to it. Nothing. Just a total, here you go. Yep. Take it. Go ahead.
Yep.
And it was synth heavy. And I liked that.
Really?
Yeah, it was synth heavy. And there was like little synth melodies. Remember, Mort Garson's Plantasia?
No.
So it's a very weird... That's like an album that came out in the 70s for plants. He made it for plants to grow. It's a very weird, esoteric thing. But it has that sort of feel of like there's a synth line kind of flowing in and out of every song. Some of the songs absolutely crazy good, like Smoke Catcher, absolutely best song on the album. Could have been a single if they did that. I think it is not one of their best albums that they put out, but I think for what they've done with this release and this, it's fine. It's good. I think it would be great to hear it live, to see how they translate the synths to a live setting, and I'm very excited for it. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Butterfly 3000. I couldn't escape talking about it. So, yeah.
Listen, King Gizzard is a good band. If you're a crazy music fan that likes to dig into the discography of a certain artist, and you want to get into King Gizzard, don't listen to all. You're gonna just don't do it to yourself. They put out an album in February this year that I thought was really good, but it's probably like you're probably talking about their 8th album that came out this year, but they had put out one album this year that was actually pretty good. That's worth checking out. I forgot the name of it because it's King Gizzard's discography. They're more of like an aesthetic because they have so many albums. It's just like it's not even, there's no. That's it. LW. Yeah,
I liked it a lot. I can't believe I forgot about it. That's the nature of the Gizzard, is that you forget a week after. You're like,
oh, jeez. I don't know how. I think Needle Drop, that one year where they put out like 18 albums, was it 2019, 2018? That one year, I think Needle Drop reviewed a few of them. I don't know how he does it. I would just say fuck it because there's just no point. You copy and paste
after a while. You copy and paste the same review, and it's like, it's probably the same thing.
You just change the album title,
yeah, and the year maybe, but that's it. Yeah.
That one year where they did like a thrash album.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. But
see?
I went to go see them live for that album.
Yeah.
So they'll release a song. They'll release an album tomorrow, and then I'll forget about everything else.
There's one out right now, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Most likely. Yeah.
Jesus. My penultimate album for this year's midterms, Smol Data, Inconvenience Store. I'm friends with Cara Goldstein. I go back with her since her last project, Cat-Like. I was there for some of the early Smol Data discussions. I've heard some of the demos for this album 3 years ago. And I remember one of the early Smol Data stuff that she put out on Bandcamp. It was a cover of a Charlie Bliss song, Percolator. And I played it on my college radio show, and she thanked me. Oh, thank you for playing that. It was a solid cover. She was like, "This is terrible." I'm like, I like it, and I don't like demos and whatever, but it was really good. But anyway, this is very department store inspired. There's songs on here, Bagel Store, which she actually debuted on a live stream over a year ago. And there's Bitch Store, which is probably my favorite song on this album. There's a really cool ska section on here that's just awesome. I think it's going to play out well live if she ever does, get some brass in her live setup. We'll see. She's calling out a lot of toxic behavior in the DIY scene that basically reflecting on some people that she's dealt with while on the DIY circuit. And if you ever had a conversation with Cara, she does not hold her tongue when it comes to toxic behavior within the scene, as it were. And like I said, she worked hard on this album for 3 years, and I'm very happy for her. It came out very well. It's definitely a step up from the first Smol Data EP, which I really like. I still like, but this is just the next level, and I love to see artists grow, especially artists that you know personally. And this album caught the attention of not just me, Stereo Gum, Consequence of Sound, and even NPR. So the sky's the limit for Smol Data. I told Cara Goldstein, the lead singer, that to her face the other day. I was like, the sky's the limit for you. There's a lot, because when you have a lot of people that are engaged with your shit, even if you don't have 1 million followers, I see a lot of people retweeting the album, and that's something. So it's not just me that liked her stuff, which I always knew. A lot of people always thought Cara was talented, even if she never thought herself. I always remind her that you're talented. So yeah, so definitely recommend the Smol Data album. It's very it's a very fun, sweet, melodic album. She loves melody.
I was so happy to see Smol Data get picked up by Stereo Gum and Concerts of Sound. A month or two ago, I saw it on my Twitter feed, and I'm like, finally. Yes, okay. This is good. This is great.
One of the best acts on Long Island right now. Yeah. I would say, her, Astronato, Frankenblazer, and MJT. Some of the best.
Oh, yeah. And I think even years ago, I think we might have booked a show together, and Smol Data might have played that show.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
That was quite an interesting night. It was because nobody showed up, but that was a very memorable night. I had a great time. I didn't care about that stuff. I was like, I just want to, give these people a platform and put on a nice show. And we did a good job, I thought. Headless Elvis performed, and they were great. I don't know if you guys still exist or not, but it was a good night. Giant Tees performed. I want to thank Christina Puerto for coming out and doing a quick interview with me after. And she's in Bethlehem Steel as well. So, that was an interesting night. Royal Day was supposed to play, but they backed out. They had something going on, which is fine. Love Royal Day. Former guest, one of my first guests on My Little Underground. But Yeah. Anyway, what's next on your list?
So the next one on my list is the last album I have here, and I've been listening to it nonstop, and we've spoken about it. Is the Japanese Breakfast album Jubilee?
Yeah, good album.
I think it might make my top 3 of the year. I mentioned the arrangements for other albums earlier, and that they were gorgeous. This is truly a gorgeously arranged album. The lyricism is incredible. I really think that I've listened to Soft Sounds from Another Planet and then Psychopomp. I love them both. I think this is kind of a step up from that. I think she really hones in on her sound and takes it to the next level and really creates these gorgeous, like, it doesn't even stick to one genre. I mean, like you mentioned, there's a shoegaze song on there. I think it's called Sit.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
it's great.
And then Savage, Sweet Boy. I was listening to this song earlier, but that kind of grew on me, and it's one of my favorite songs in the album now. Posing for Cars, Posing in Bondage, both incredible songs. I think Japanese Breakfast really also, sky's the limit for Japanese Breakfast as well. The book deal, there's a movie deal. I don't know if you knew about that.
No. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw about that.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. The album is huge. People are talking about it. She just did an interview with Karen O for Interview Magazine.
Yeah, I gotta hear that.
Really just killing it right now. And Jubilee is kind of the cherry on top. Really sending Japanese Breakfast to the moon right now. And I couldn't be more happy for her. All of her shows sold out in Brooklyn for October. They're sold out, and I'm kind of
Did you get a ticket?
No, I didn't get a ticket.
Oh boy, where's she playing?
I think it's Warsaw.
Warsaw, yeah. Possibly. I still haven't. I was gonna see Ty Segall there about 4 years ago, but again, sold out immediately.
Yep.
Not fair.
Yeah.
But every time that son of a bitch comes here, he sells out. The last time I saw him, it was at Brooklyn Steel. When I bought my ticket, like 30 minutes later, gone, sold out. And I ran to Jordan Klepper. I tell that story a million times, and it was really nice to meet him because when I was, he's a nice guy, but like I felt like he was like in character because the way his voice was, he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" It sounds like, oh no, it sounds like a bit, but it wasn't. He had Ty Segall on his show on Comedy Central, The Opposition, which was kind of like a newer version of the Colbert Report. It was spoofing like right wing media. It was very, very entertaining. I don't know if it's still on the air. I don't think so, but it was really good. If you watch it, like you get the joke. But anyway, last album on my list. Another New York group, Lovehoney. They released finally their debut self-titled full-length album after years of putting out really, really good EPs. They dropped the album on Valentine's Day on a Sunday, which is strange, but not really, because if you listen to Lovehoney's music, there's a lot of love, a lot of romance in their music. And this album is no different. Half of it is like loud stoner blues rock influences. They're channeling their inner Sabbath and Hendrix on here, and then the other half is like very sultry, soulful, romantic tunes on here, and it's balanced very, very well. It's not sharp because if you know Lovehoney, they mix this very well. They're not just gonna have crazy solos from Tommy White, who was one of the best guitarists around here. He's truly remarkable. Highly recommend songs like Sandman Night and Liquid because it's everything I'm saying. Like Sandman Night is very Sabbath Volume 4, and then you have a Liquid, which is totally slow jam, but not too slow, but it's very slow and just you would play it after a first date. How about that? On an anniversary dinner or something sweet like that. Definitely one of the best New York bands from a live perspective too. They're a must-see. And if you go see them, wear deodorant because you will sweat. You will move around a lot. Yeah.
I can't wait to be in a live show setting.
Yep.
I haven't been to one. Have you been to a show yet?
Yeah. Good question.
You did.
Last September, Brian Brookman of Totally Real Records, he put on a show on his front lawn in Valley Stream. Yeah. And Astronauta performed. And it was one of the best performances from Astronauta because he was in his element. Outdoors, in nature, and it was so good. It was like, to me, because the music industry was like, in disarray without live events and everything. But that show proved to me that if the music industry goes under, music will still thrive. It doesn't matter where it is. We don't need this because when a DIY venue shuts down, it's unfortunate. People are like, oh, where? But it can be anywhere. Music can be anywhere. It doesn't need to be in a inside of some venue in a hip neighborhood. It doesn't need to be that way. So, yeah, that was the last show I was at, and it was during COVID. There was not a lot of people there. It was on a front lawn, like I said, but it was it was great.
Yeah. I can't wait to go see a show again. You know, something I keep turning to a memory is that when we went to go see Water From Your Eyes in that garage,
dude,
and they're coming out with something too, or they already did, but they're definitely active again, and I'm so excited to hear it.
New album in August.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the name title right now because I pre-ordered it on Bandcamp. I got the vinyl too because I was like, you know what, I need some Water From Your Eyes vinyl. Oh, Structure. That's the name of the album, and it's coming out August 27th. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And they're former guests of My Little Underground too. And they're the nicest people. And they're so creative and egoless. They didn't big league me at all. Like, they were just very humble and yeah, sky's the limit for them as well.
Oh yeah.
So, it's My Little Underground. So glad to have Conor back. Helping me grade some midterms with our big red pens. And you can listen to My Little Underground wherever you get podcasts. And you can follow me on socials at MLUpod. And Conor, your handle is?
At Rooney Tunes. ROONEYTNS. That's across Twitter, Instagram, whatever else. TikTok as well, but don't go there.
Yeah. Conor has a lot of great pictures on his Instagram too. He's been diving into the photography realm. And yeah, that's it. I'm Peter A. And later days.